Hello and welcome to the TV show. I'm John.
And from Chicago's North Side, I'm Scotto.
And without any further ado, on to this week's show, which is The Amazing Digital Circus from 2023. The Amazing Digital Circus is an animated web series that was partly inspired by the science fiction short story I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison, which, if you
Wow,
know
okay.
nothing about it, I'd at least recommend reading the Wikipedia entry. It's wild. The series follows six characters who are ostensibly trapped in a virtual reality circus under the control of its ringmaster, Kane. In most episodes, they take part in an adventure devised by Kane and end up confronting the horror of their situation and often their own psychological demons, all the while at risk of losing their sanity, abstracting, and being lost forever. The series is currently airing simultaneously on the Glitch YouTube channel and Netflix, and new episodes go up every 2 to 6 months. On the long wait between the release of each episode, Glitch general manager Jasmine Yang said, quote, "If we had to wait until the entire season was ready before dropping any episodes, the Amazing Digital Circus pilot would not have premiered for years. Dropping all the episodes at the same time is not only impractical, but also counterintuitive. For us, not only is the wait practical, but it works a little bit in our favor because every time we make a new episode of anything, we can make a big event about it." We watched the first 4 episodes that are the only ones available at time of recording. Episode 1, pilot. The opening reminded me a lot of Tiny Toons.
Uh, yes, there's kind of that, insaney,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing going on. A lot of the aesthetic, a lot of the plot, I thought reminded me of The Prisoner,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which, I mean, I'm not sure if this came before or after the Harlan Ellison book.
The Prisoner, I don't know. Um,
Yeah,
I like how quickly they brought in Pomni, basically the main character, at least in the first episode. They
right.
don't take any time introducing her. They're doing this opening theme song, like introducing all the characters, and she just suddenly pops in. Um,
Just crashes it, and yeah.
and it's heavily suggested that it's VR, but it's never been confirmed.
Well, sure. Oh, yeah, she had a headset that she put on,
Well,
but
yeah,
for some reason she can't take it off.
but they could all be dead.
Yeah.
It's never confirmed that it's a virtual reality environment officially. There was also this gag where nobody can curse,
Right.
which came straight from The Good Place.
Yeah. Which, is of course purgatory in itself.
The other
Uh,
characters are Ragatha, a character very, very based on Raggedy Ann, who is just an incredible people pleaser. Deeply relate to her. Jax, a psychotic bunny, kind of an asshole version of Bugs Bunny.
I'm trying to think of where that's from too. The psychotic bunny. I mean, I almost want to say Donnie Darko, but you
Oh,
know,
yeah, they lean a little into that, but he's Bugs
yeah,
Bunny on 11.
yeah, yeah.
Zubul, who is an amalgamation of various like geometric shapes, heavily transcoded in a later episode, particularly. Gangle, who is just a ribbon with a comedy or tragedy mask.
That someone just made,
Yeah.
almost.
And Kinger, who is a king, a chess king, who is just completely insane until the shit hits the fan. And then he gets it together, which I love.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Back to the first episode, though, and a little bit of the overarching lore, effectively. Not lore, but the speculation about the show, because I've been a fan from the beginning. And
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of stuff about the show. It is speculated that Jax is just a part of the program,
Okay.
not actually a human like the others who is in this supposedly virtual reality simulation. That
Well,
he's just there
Kane
to.
said at one point that, it would be hard for him to keep track of who's a human and who's an
Right.
NPC. And if he let one NPC in, which maybe he did, he's forgotten that he's an NPC.
Well, he maybe not necessarily an NPC, but that he's part of the program and in there to torture the humans.
Maybe. Yeah, that's possible.
Because he just wants to see people suffer.
Yeah. And of course, there's a question like, is Kane a prisoner himself or is he the jailer,
Well, he's supposedly the AI who is in control of it. Although it is mentioned that he has others, ahead of him. Basically, probably the people running the program. If it is,
Right.
an AI, and his character design is insane. He's got the ringmaster
Yeah.
suit, but then he's just a set of jaws, like those comedy jaws, the wind-up jaws, with
Yeah.
eyeballs inside.
The chattering teeth kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that with eyeballs inside of them.
Right.
And I liked his line, "We don't venture out into the void."
Well, I mean, is that just because that's really the way out, or is it just because, or is he saying it is true that it would just destroy them
Yeah.
finally?
Well, and I looked at it that way, especially given how the series is very much about them kind of dealing with their psychological shit.
Yeah.
The void is kind of just the great unknown.
Yeah.
Loved Zubul choking Jax with their detached arm. At one point, Jax just pulls their arm off to torture them, and then they just, without it being attached to their body, just strangle Jax with it. And Kane screaming at Bubble. Bubble creeps me out.
Yeah, Bubble, that I feel like that's another nod to the prisoner because remember they had
Yeah.
the big giant ball that would just chase somebody if they got too far.
Bubble is Kane's assistant, which is just this soap bubble with like eyes and piranha teeth.
Yes. That can lick things up or
Yeah.
plug things up with the tongue.
Loved the Gloinks stealing all of Zubul, like all of their individual parts.
Yeah, I'm not sure I entirely follow what the fuck the goinks are.
You're not supposed to. I don't think.
Okay. All right.
It's not
Uh,
supposed to. That part. The Gloinks are these little like plastic shapes that are animated and are the children of this big worm-like monster
yeah.
who lives in the
Giant
basement. I loved Ragatha's speech about how they don't look for the exit anymore.
Right.
Deeply related to that.
Yeah, it's
They just gave up.
well that is it. They've said they've been there for years. Of course.
Yeah,
Do you keep track of time anymore if you're
right,
just kind of in something like this? You know? I mean, how long have you really been there?
right. Great music when the abstracted Kafmo is chasing Pomni.
Oh, yeah.
Like there were only a few spots where the music really jumped out at me, but that was one of them. Loved all the random doors Pomni finds while looking for Kane. A lot of great kind of cartoon logic there.
All the exits.
Oh, the exit was another story. That reminded me of a game called The Stanley Paradox.
Okay.
It's a game where you're in an office and there's this British guy narrating your life. It's very Douglas Adams. And suddenly there's nobody else in the office. And then
Oh.
this narrator is telling you is narrating what you're doing, where you're going. And until you decide to go off the track of what he says you're about to do. And then his whole job is to rein you back in, to point you in a particular direction, and it just gets insane from there. I don't want to spoil much, but it really fucks with reality. But the office she's wandering through reminded me of that.
They do. I feel like they do give a clue with that whole when she was on the trail of exits and they were at what felt like her computer desk.
A lot of people have noticed that there was a computer desk that she kind of stopped and looked at.
Yeah.
And then maybe that's where her body actually is, the rest of her.
But notice it was empty, you
Yeah.
know?
But would she necessarily see herself if she's imagining it?
Right.
Yeah, she also speculates that it could be a dream.
Oh God, that would be terrible if this was a dream.
Yeah,
That
I
would
don't think they're
violate
going to do that.
that
I
would
think,
violate Scotto's rule
yeah,
of
I think that would
storytelling.
piss everybody off. You know,
Especially
like,
if it took like a couple of years of figuring it out. The only person that gets to get away with that was Bob Newhart.
right.
That was because it was funny.
You know, I don't think, I seriously doubt they'll do that because they know it'll piss most people off.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be underwhelmed if it is very VR. I would like it to be something else, Afterlife or something I haven't thought of. I would love it if it's something I hadn't thought of. But even if it's, a VR thing, I'm cool. I'm fine with that just as long as it's not actually a dream. And they made a point of telling her, you're not dreaming
Right.
repeatedly.
I'm fine with either purgatory, which I mean has been used a lot,
Yeah.
or VR,
Mhm.
but no dream.
Yeah. Um,
That's foul.
I love the line, Kaufmo went through a sort of kaufmosis and abstracted.
Yes, they so much information in the pilot.
Uh,
It's, I mean, they packed so much in 9 minutes, that first 9 minutes, and then just the concept of somebody, you know, phasing out like that,
mm,
and dying.
yeah. Kaufmo is this clown who they introduce in the opening song, but he's only there via a standee that gets kicked over. You find out he's abstracted. Abstracted basically means losing your mind in this VR. And you end up looking like this giant black blob with eyes all over it.
Right. I would say it's not even just losing your mind. You kind of just lose. I don't know. You just lose yourself.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
you just become this other thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean that's of course a strong hint at purgatory, I would
Yeah.
think, or maybe that they finally figured out how to get the headset off. Who
Maybe.
knows?
But the thing that got me, Kaufmosis, Kafka.
Oh, right.
I just loved that play. It's a very smart show, which is one of the things I love about it. Episode 2, Candy Carrier Chaos. In the beginning of the episode, Pomni's having a nightmare about being trapped and basically the events of the previous episode. And we see an evil Ragatha. It has been confirmed that evil Ragatha will be returning in the next episode.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What happened to her in episode 4, I think will cause some things to unravel, which we'll get to when we get there.
Yeah.
And yeah, she turns evil. I'm looking forward to that. Love the sense of scale in the Candy Kingdom.
There are no boundaries here.
Mhm.
He can do whatever he
Yeah.
wants, and they kind of hinted, I think, in the last episode before this one, where all the NPCs in the cafeteria
Mhm.
with them.
Right. The figure models.
Yes.
But in the circus, it's all contained into scale with the characters, and
Yeah.
nothing looks particularly big. And then they show this kingdom, which is massive. We'll just love that. And I love that Kane is God in the Candy Kingdom because it's all part of the same, virtual reality, and the AI and who's running it would logically be God. Loved the Candy War Truck. The adventure of this episode, the first proper adventure, is that they had to rescue a shipment of maple syrup that had gotten stolen on its way to the Candy Kingdom.
Stolen maple syrup. Man, that happens more often than one would think.
You're the one who's Canadian by marriage. So.
Yeah. I thought at first I was kind of like, "Whoa, a side quest already?" And then I got it. The entire existence
Yeah.
is a series of side quests. That's the point.
But they're given this like total badass war truck that is made of candy. I just would love to see someone like actually like make a scale model of that out of actual candy. And of course the bandits that stole the candy, or that stole the maple syrup, sorry, just needed to feed their families.
Australian crocodiles.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Very, very interesting choice.
And I love the gag where the two hench bandits' arms are either too short or too long to do what they need to
Right.
do.
They can't shift gears because their arm's too long to do it. Yeah.
One of them tries to grab Pomni because she ended up on their truck, but his arms are too short. Loved Agatha's line, why are there so many knives back here? Apparently there were a bunch of knives in the back seat of the war truck.
But of course, this episode really gets good when reality comes crashing down.
Loved the effect when the bandage truck glitches it off of the map. And then they end up in asset storage.
Right, where they see pretty much, well, at least the head bandit,
It's Pomni and Gummy Goo, the lead bandit,
Gummy Goo. I was trying to remember his name.
ended up off the map in asset storage, and Gummy Goo sees himself and his brothers in a T-pose.
So the NPC gains self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
and Pomni, realizes how different is she from an NPC.
Yeah. There's some brilliant voice acting from Jack Hawkins, who played Gummy Goo.
Yeah.
Because at first he's just doing this cheesy Australian accent and just very, very stock character, playing a very stock character. And then he sees himself, starts to have this existential crisis, and the acting gets real.
I realized that this whole thing, from beginning to end, of course, is an existential crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, okay.
Kind of what the show is about.
And then you have the side quests, like life is just a series of side quests. Oh, gee, yeah, am I the NPC now? What the hell?
The Amazing Digital Circus is Existential Crisis, the animated series.
Yeah.
And while that is all going on, the rest of them meet a monster called the Fudge.
There's always a giant, well, it's only the second episode in, but they point out, like, why is Pomni always miss the giant,
Yeah, this giant chocolate monster who had the best line, "Is it really murder if it tastes delicious?"
The carnivores have been saying that for centuries.
I think that's what they were hinting at.
Yeah.
Loved the teapots that they saw when Pomni and Gummy Goo were found a way out of the void. I can't help wondering if they were a reference to Russell's teapot. Love how the glitch created 2 bandit trucks, so it was a win-win.
Yeah, sure. Why don't you take the extra truck home?
And then they return to the circus with Gummy Goo because he's no self-aware and he can't go back to his old life.
But you can see it coming from a mile away. I assumed it was just going to be, he couldn't go through the portal.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be like a holodeck kind of thing.
I should have seen it coming. Obviously, this time I did because it's the second time I've seen the episode. But the first time I was shocked. As soon as he gets in the door, Kane deletes him.
Just with the poof of confetti.
Yeah.
Just so casually. Oh, no. That can't happen.
And you referenced it earlier. Kane says he can't let NPCs in because then he'll lose track of who's a human and NPC. And he can't let that happen again, he says.
Right. Okay. So Jax could be that NPC, I'm thinking.
Possibly. And then there's a really nice musical shift during Kaufman's funeral. Because it goes from this music from the previous scene to this really nice, funeral music. And they don't match at first, but they kind of meld together really nicely. It's just a beautiful mixing job. Episode 3, The Mystery of Middenhall Manor. Love the line from Jax, "I want to see what your funny cartoon body does." They start the episode with a breath holding contest because in the circus, if they can hold their breath as long as they want to, but different things happen to their appearance. Pomni turns various colors, Kinger glows, and they mentioned a few others. Jax doesn't reveal what he does. He won't hold his breath so they can find out.
You got to have a mystery here and there.
Mm-hmm. And I loved when they point that out, Jax turning to the audience, like straight to camera and saying, "What do you think will happen?"
Of course, the real mystery is Kane.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I started wondering, like, is he actually, is he really in charge here?
Yeah.
Or is he just a prisoner like them with just, kind of a Milgram's,
I don't think he's a human. I do think he's an AI. If we assume it's virtual reality. But obviously there is someone or something else in charge of him. He is taking orders.
At the end of the last episode, I think there's a hint given, though.
Well, we'll get to that when we get to the...
Yeah.
We don't want to get too far ahead. Loved Pomni's eyes not going back into her head after the wild take. She's just sitting
I
there
mean,
holding her eyeballs.
you start feeling bad for her, honestly.
She is the punching bag.
Yeah.
Um,
Like now her eyes can't. I mean, she's got this weird body. She's lost. She, for some reason can't remember her name, and now her eyes couldn't go back into her
well, I
head.
don't know if any of them can remember their name.
None of them can, right? None of
There
them
are
can.
hints at their pasts. Gangle and Ragatha particularly talk about their pasts. I don't know if Pomni, how much of Pomni remembers of her past, if she remembers having the headset on. So,
Kinger talks a little bit about his
yeah.
past,
Well, his wife was in the circus as well, and she abstracted.
but he talked about, I think, being a
Oh, the computer
programmer.
science major, right?
Yeah, computer science major,
Um,
and this is what it got him.
yeah.
So you kind of wonder, is Kinger actually, was this his doing and he can't remember it?
Well, we'll get into that in a
Yeah,
minute. Just want to go over some stuff first because that's this episode. So they get to this haunted house. That's the adventure.
right.
Zubul refuses to go on this adventure, even though parts of it were designed for them. But they get to this haunted house and they have two options: the family-friendly route and the really horrific route. Kinger decides to test out the really horrific part, trying to be the hero. I think he forgot that he was still holding one of Pomni's eyes,
Oh,
which are still outside of her head, and she
yeah.
gets dragged along with him. And they go into this room, basically a hunting lodge, where you see all of their heads, all the main characters' heads on the wall.
Yeah. I was wondering if they were going to explain that, but they do not.
No. And it's just this great Hemingway reference. You get this tape recording of this great hunter, telling his story. I loved Kinger's line, some rather inconvenient lore placement.
Oh, right, right, because he would just do something and then the recording would play
Yeah.
and pretty much tell him not to do
Yeah,
what he
what he
just
just
did.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great gag where the lights go out and you get the 2D animated version of Kinger and Pomni's
Oh,
eyes.
yeah, just the eyes. Like it's like it is the Bugs Bunny and the
Mhm.
I can't remember the monster's
Yeah.
name.
Kinger's eyes are off center, like one's higher than the other.
Yes.
Pomni's eyes, the pupils are Mac beach balls,
Yeah.
which as a Mac user I appreciated. Love how creepy the angel is. And I kind of, giving away a bit of a spoiler there, but yeah. It's just, there's this floating head that starts chasing them, this horrific looking monster. You find out eventually it's an angel. It's been speculated that Kinger saw his abstracted wife in the monster's mouth. That's why he starts talking to his wife when the monster had its mouth open.
Okay. That I could see that.
And then we cut back to the circus where Zubul and Kane are having a therapy session. Loved Kane glitching when he realized he might not be good at the only thing he thinks he's good at.
Right. He's starting to glitch.
More existential crisis. Imagine starting to be convinced that you're not good at the one thing you're good at. That would break you. The hunter's corpse, when they see it, is creepy as hell. Some really nice animation there.
The angel's great animation too.
Yeah. Love how Kinger just becomes this absolute badass because he had to.
For some reason, yeah, the darkness brings back his mind.
And right after Kinger again becomes this massive badass, shoots the big monster head and a couple other things, the tape reveals the monster is an angel. Kinger just killed an angel.
I mean, it was it was going to get him anyway.
Yeah. And then we find out what the family-friendly route was, which was a ghost tea party that Ragatha, Gangle, and Jax were involved with, although Jax was tied up. I loved that.
Yeah.
Also loved Kinger's detachable eye. He took his eye off and threw it in a room to kind of scope the place out.
To scout ahead.
Very brother from another planet. I wonder if they know about that movie and were influenced by it. Remember when he took his eye out?
Yeah,
Um,
he just threw it down the hall to take a look around.
I mean, in Brother from Another Planet when he said it in the flower pot.
Oh, oh, oh man, it was so long ago we reviewed that. That was like episode
Yeah,
what,
that was early, but
five or
that part
six of
stuck with
Zombie
me.
Takeout.
I don't know. That scene stuck with me. Pomni's transformation into a monster was creepy. Again, creepy as hell. This
Oh
show
yeah,
can really pull out the scares when it wants to, even though it's very candy coated on the outside.
yeah.
Um, Loved Kinger's monologue, another very deep, kind of trauma filled monologue. And this is when we get the reveal that he has a comp sci degree, like a doctorate, I think he said, or like a high level post grad degree.
Well, yeah, didn't it say like 7 years or something?
Yeah,
You know, just for this.
yeah, right. Nice callback to the breath holding contest in the beginning. Pomni and Kinger have to hold their breath to get through this area, otherwise they'll breathe in these evil spirits.
Chekhov's breath holding. If we had names for the episodes, that's what this would have been.
Love how they used Kinger's glow in that scene.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to Zubul and Kane, but the therapy session is switched. Initially, it was Kane as the therapist.
Of course.
Now it's Zubul.
Because Kane needs the therapy more than Zoom.
Yeah. Episode 4, Fast Food Masquerade. I think probably the darkest episode of the lot, and the last one was
Definitely.
straight up horror.
It's, I mean, this is why I don't watch Severance. I mean, it's just, I mean, who the fuck? Oh, they have a job where they're, like, fuck, no.
I just got Apple Plus. I'm considering Apple TV Plus. I'm considering Severance. Is it? You don't watch it at all, so you.
I mean, I hear it's great and
Yeah.
everything, but it's like, I mean,
Huh.
it's just nothing I would want to watch
Right.
because it's
I
like,
get that.
it's too close to reality, you know?
The episode starts off with Ragatha teaching Gangle how to throw a softball. The next episode, that's going to come back because they've
Okay.
already shown a bit of the behind the scenes, and it's set in a big, baseball field.
All right.
And then Zubul gives Gangle this plastic mask, comedy mask, because their mask keeps getting stepped on and broken. The plastic one won't break.
His comedy mask had been broken through since the beginning. I think it was like the first dialogue they had was that my comedy mask broke.
Quick correction: apparently, Gangle is female, because
Gangle's female.
well, the voice actor is kind of nondescript, and I saw on Wikipedia they were referred to as female, and I was
Okay.
a little unsure about it. And then I noticed in the first episode, or no, second episode, when they're about to go through the portal, Jack says ladies first to Gangle.
Ah.
So Gangle was apparently a woman. But yeah,
Okay.
the
All right.
plastic comedy mask, from a psychological standpoint, masking,
Oh, totally.
particularly a plastic one that can't break, that's, oh wow, that hits hard.
Yeah.
As someone who has done a lot of masking, that is painful. Even though Gangle says it feels normal in a good way. Again, oh, that hurts. Love that the first adventure that Kane suggests is called The Curse of the Violent Psychopath Killer. They nope out of that one because they just did a horror one.
I love that the callback is Zobel. It was for you, though, Zobel. And you're like, why would you think I would have liked that?
And then we get another word drop. Gangle was a shift manager at a fast food place. And so that's what they put in the suggestion box. They want an adventure in a fast food place.
Of course, I mean, that's on the surface, it's the least adventuresome, thing you could do. But, man,
Which is
just
probably why Gangle suggested it, now that you mentioned that, because it would just be a very mundane, been there, done that kind of thing for Gangle, instead of the torture that they usually get.
but the being forced to wear a mask and
Well,
not
he shows the
not
mask at first.
well, yeah, but I'm talking more in the metaphorical sense that they
Mhm.
all had to do,
Oh, yeah.
being the,
Right.
employees, servers,
Hmm.
to the customers. That it, like Raga just
Yeah.
couldn't handle it at all.
Well,
You know?
they get in there. The place is called Spudsy's. One of the first scenes in the play in the fast food place, uh, Jax throws Ragatha in the deep fryer. It was hilarious and horrifying at the same time.
Well, right, because he just ignored her.
And she was just there twitching and in there for a ridiculously long time.
Yeah.
Of course, it's cartoon logic, so as soon as she's pulled out, she's fine.
Right, right.
Um, Loved Gangle's line after I think it was Jax questioned one of their decisions, and she said, "It's called a manic episode, and you're getting 3 more seasons." That is some beautiful writing.
Yeah.
Loved the Orbsman's voice. It's very kind of robotic and hard to understand. I've seen that clip with subtitles. You can actually understand it if you're reading it.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't too difficult as long as I could read the subtitles
Mhm.
along with it.
Loved the idea of the addictive stupid sauce.
Ragatha,
Well,
is hooked.
before we get there, as a longtime vegetarian who lived at Burger King before I was a vegetarian, there is something addictive in that food. But then, yeah, Ragatha ends up tasting the stupid sauce and is just tripping for the rest of the episode.
She had some accidentally squirted on
Oh,
her.
that's right, went in her eye.
It went in her eye.
Yeah, she just trips for the rest of the episode and drops the people pleaser thing. She's just very, very
Yeah,
honest in a couple of scenes.
right.
They bring back Gummy Goo, who has no memory of Pomni.
There were looks though, It
Mhm.
was there was something there, but he couldn't quite get it.
Right, right. And she's acting like she's flirting with him. Like, if you don't know her reasoning, it just looks like she's flirting with him.
Yeah.
Loved the line from one of the hench crocs. He says, "I forgot to ask for a kid's toy in my Happy Meal." And then Gummy Goo says, "You're an adult." "Oh, yeah, an adult toy then." Gummy Goo says, "No, bad idea."
I'll give it time. Fast food places will probably start doing
Oh, God.
something like that.
Don't even want to think about that. From what I know of those who've worked in fast food places, wash it very thoroughly. Loved Gangle's slow unraveling throughout the episode.
Yeah, this was her idea,
Hmm.
and she I guess, I don't know, is it the disappointment of it not going as she thought, or was it more torturous than she remembered it being?
I think a lot of it was the mask because she was forced to be happy
Yeah.
and it couldn't break. Um, Jax has a great line to her. "I liked you better when you were sad." Um, seen a lot of people saying that was an incredibly cruel line, but to me, it just shows that Jax cares about her.
Hmm. I mean,
On its surface, it's cruel, but "I like you better when you're not masking," is what he basically says. "I like you better when you're being who you are."
yeah, I could see that. I mean, it's a tough. Yeah, I mean, when you're between the two poles,
Mm,
and you think one has got to be better than the other, and it's always not the one you're in.
mm. Another word drop with Gangle. Apparently, she wanted to be a manga, sorry. And there's this training video that they force Jax to watch. Um, and Gangle says, "It's cool to have dreams, but you need to remember that they're completely unrealistic and you need to stop trying." The show just gets too real.
Yeah.
Also, Ragatha, while she's tripping, has this line about missing her horses and packages landing on her head and tea parties and dancing lessons. A lot of people thought this was a word drop, and it could be, but it was also a reference to a Raggedy Ann and Andy movie. A lot of people in the comments, when people would talk about it being a word drop, would point out, no, that came from a Raggedy Ann and Andy movie.
It almost makes you wonder if she's an NPC.
I hope not. She's my favorite character.
Because I mean, why would she have memories of the doll? That she is.
Well, yeah. I think she was rich.
Hmm.
Hence horses, and dancing lessons and such. She sounds like she came from a lot of money to me.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. I'd buy
And
that.
and then the people pleaser thing drops as she's laying on the floor and Jax walks past her. She says, "Yo, Jax, hate you, but I don't want you to hate me. Is that weird?" Speaking as a people pleaser again, wow, too real. And Jax actually gets more human after the training video. He's not an asshole anymore.
He kind of, it's almost like Clockwork Orange treatment,
Yeah,
where
it's
he's
very much Clockwork Orange.
just seen these horrific things and just, tied down to the chair.
But he doesn't try to bully everybody suddenly. And it really unsettles that Pomni.
Yeah.
She just doesn't know how to deal with Jax not, trying to fuck with everybody. Loved Gangle's mask dropping as soon as she got outside. As soon as she was alone. She went out at the side door for a break, and as soon as she was alone, the mask came off. Great line from Gangle to Pomni talking about Ragatha. And Pomni had said, is there anybody you could tell your troubles to? Maybe Ragatha. I know she'd listen. And Gangle says, "Oh, Ragatha, I love her, but after a while it gets kind of hard to tell how genuine she's actually being."
Huh.
Oh, that hurt. There is a strong hint that Gangle has a more than platonic interest in Ragatha.
I don't know.
There's in a previous episode, there's a line, Jax says something about telling Ragatha about the paper dolls.
Oh, okay.
Again, I've seen it all twice, so I'm noticing smaller things. And then the way Gangle says, "I love her," it's not tossed off. It's the way they deliver that line. It sounds romantic. And then Pomni lets Gangle go home early and then decides to close up for her. Gangle's walking away, takes off the mask, and is celebrating. And is finally relieved to be losing this mask. And immediately gets hit by a truck. Ouch.
Yeah.
To quote Giles from Buffy, "Your subtext is rapidly becoming text." And then as soon as they're hit, they're pulled into Kane's office for their employee assessment. They get a B+, and they show everybody's grade. The only one that got an A+ was Kinger, who wasn't on the adventure. There's a picture of him riding a bull. And then it ends with this nice moment between Gangle and Zubul. You get the impression Gangle's really the only person in the circus that they're close to.
Yeah.
So will you continue watching?
Now, was Kane... I thought they dropped a hint that Kane might be abstracting in the end of this episode.
Did they?
Because he's kind of on the glitchy side still.
Yeah, he did glitch.
At the very end.
Well, he also glitched previously in this episode, so he might have been still recovering from that.
Because what happens if Kane abstracts? So they're all there on their own.
I could see them going there. Gooseworks, who created the show, is a person, not a company. Yeah. Their pseudonym is Gooseworks. They voice Bubble, by the way. Has said that the next episode is going to be the latest.
Okay.
And then it's going to get real.
How many episodes in total?
9 episodes in the first season.
And from what I understand, they're going to only do one season.
Okay. I don't know. Has that been determined? I wasn't sure.
That's what I saw.
Okay.
This meant to be like a
one and done. That's good.
Yeah, limited engagement. They've got a story, a beginning and an end.
So 9 episodes in total. 5 is the midpoint. That's going to be the light one, and then
I'll definitely be watching the.
So you are going to continue watching. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't need to restate that. I've been watching from the beginning. I can't wait to see where it goes, especially given that Ghostbricks has said that the ending, the last four, are the darkest, darker than where it's been. Wow.
And I was a big fan of The Prisoner too, and
Mhm.
just I love calling back to that.
Yeah.
I mean, what did The Prisoner have a satisfying ending? A
Mhm.
bit Python influenced, but
Yeah. I'm glad you liked this because I wasn't sure. It was the one thing this week I wasn't sure about. If you would like, uh, and as much as we say that our episodes are better when we disagree, I prefer it when we both agree on something. Um, anyway, that's it for the Amazing Digital Circus. Until next time, we'll be reviewing Max Headroom, the movie, on Zombie Takeout. Of course, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life,
there
there you
you
are.
are.